Hey everybody, it's Adam from the Poisoner's Almanac podcast. Just want to say thank you all so much for the 5-star reviews you guys have been leaving on Spotify especially. We really appreciate that. That's kind of like a tip jar. It helps push the podcast out to more people on all the platforms. If you like the podcast, please consider leaving us that 5-star review. It's really, really helpful, and we're really thankful when you guys do that. All right, now to the episode. Hello, and welcome to the Poisoner's Almanac podcast. I am Adam, your co-host.
I'm Rebecca.
And today's episode is about what, my dear?
Foxglove, Oleander, Lilly of the Valley. But if you take any kind of medications for congestive heart failure, like digoxin, you'll know a little bit about Foxglove.
That's right.
Which is also called digitalis.
Yes.
Which is where we get digoxin. Mm-hmm. Digitalis purpurea it sounds like I'm saying, what's that stuff that smells good? Potpourri?
Yeah.
Potpourria, digitalis purpurea.
Digitalis pop.
Yes, but Foxglove, and we're going to go over where it gets its name, because I love finding out the origins of names and things like that.
The etymology, if you will.
And there's actually quite a bit of folklore that goes along with, well, quite actually all of this. But foxglove is a very pretty poisonous plant. It is. It is tall. It's got these bell-shaped flowers. It can grow up to like 5 feet. They're really pretty. They're usually purple, but they can also be pink, white, red, cream color. They've been kind of cultivated in that way. Mm-hmm. And they are pretty common across Europe and North America, typically blooming in the summer. So might be seeing them pretty soon.
That's right.
Every part of this plant, the roots, stems, leaves, flowers, seeds, is poisonous, containing the cardiac glycosides.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
Wow.
Don't eat it. Admire it from a distance.
Your Honor, we told her not to eat it.
Don't eat it. Don't lick it. Don't do anything.
Probably let his horse lick it. Okay.
But it has the cardiac glycosides, digoxin and digoxin. Mm-hmm. Even the water, like if you put these flowers in a vase, the stems being in the water, that water can become toxic. It's it's very toxic.
Bro.
So don't do that.
Okay.
Please don't make this the next challenge on TikTok. Yeah. So now cardiac glycosides tend to impede blood circulation and slow the heart. I say slow the heart, but first you get the VTAC situation. So what's really happening is it's your ventricular tachycardia until it just gives out.
VTAC is short for ventricular tachycardia, friends.
Yeah, that's something you would need. And you know how you see like the shows or the movies where they're like clear and they're like shocking people.
Oh, here we go.
Because they're in asystole, which is completely ridiculous. You don't shock people who are flatlining. Mm-hmm. But now if you're in VTAC, that is a good time to shock someone.
That's a shockable offense.
So just a little information there. Now, like I said, foxglove has a lot of folklore surrounding it, and a lot of it involves fairies.
Oh, I'm already on board.
Fairies, and we're not talking about like a court of thorns and roses fairies. We're not talking about.
I'm so disappointed now.
Sorry, we're talking about like the old school fairies that you don't want to tick off. You know.
Okay.
Fairies. But yeah. So they were said to live within the little bell-like flowers, some of them.
Okay.
Yeah, and they treated them with great respect, and they would get ticked off if you even like picked these flowers or messed with them in any sort of way. Like if you harmed them, they would get angry, and you don't want these fairies angry with you, apparently.
Okay.
I'm not the big folklore person. I know there's a couple of people on TikTok that are actually really good with folklore content. And
yes, you showed me some.
Yeah, I love them. They're great. Mm-hmm. Now, foxgloves are also said to be a way to get rid of changelings. You know what a changeling is?
I do not, ma'am.
Really? You've never heard of the term at all?
Really? No.
You've never read a lot of fantasy fiction.
I haven't read enough fantasy fiction. I will admit that.
Well, in case you don't know, a changeling
In case you're a peasant, let me explain it.
A changeling is this supernatural substitute, basically, for when a fairy basically steals a child. And they would come up with this idea of changelings because there would be this change in their child, or their child would have some sort of deformity or disability that they were like, something's wrong with this child. It can't be mine. It must be a changeling.
Oh, my God.
I know. So if you had any sort of, or even like neurodivergence, or you had a child with some sort of mental
I didn't think about that.
condition or behavioral issue, they would, and they didn't exactly have the best remedies for changelings. Now, an old remedy for this issue was to either bathe the child in the juice of a foxglove plant.
No, you're kidding me.
Like, they did some crazy stuff, okay? Or to put a leaf of the plant under their pillow. Another rather deadly remedy would involve squeezing drops of foxglove juice onto the child's tongue, and these sorts of remedies often led to the deaths of many children who had probably just either neurodivergence or disability or deformity, because they didn't understand how to...
That's so terrible.
They didn't understand what that was.
No.
And they were being told, oh, it's probably this. Just like that doctor during the Salem witch trials was like, she's bewitched. That's my diagnosis.
Yes. I remember that from the last episode we recorded.
Yeah.
Big L. Just L's everywhere you look right now.
Apparently it was, you didn't have to know much to be
a doctor
back then.
Yeah.
So they did have medical schools, though. They just didn't know a whole lot.
They did, yeah. The technology was...
like we do today.
Just didn't tell us much.
Yeah. Now, there's also legends about how it got its name. And one Norwegian, I can't talk today.
Norwegian?
A fairy taught foxes how to ring the bells of the foxglove plant to warn against hunters in the area. It's just a story of how it got its name. Another story tells, an early English story tells of the fae or fairies resting on the petals of this plant. Okay. And give it the little spots that are on these plants. That's where they say those come from. Mm-hmm. They call it Foxglove.
Foxglove.
Like folk, the fairy folk. Folk.
Okay. So it's an evolution of the term, just like Jimson weed.
Yeah.
Was Jamestown.
Yeah. These are just stories, though. There's a real reason.
Yeah, this is
how
all...
it got its name. These are just another story in this part of the world also tells about how fairies gifted the flowers to foxes for their paws so they could sneak up on their prey. I thought that was actually kind of cute. Put little on their paws.
That's very RPG video game.
Fox's gloves.
Oh, okay. Foxglove.
Fox's gloves. So.
Oh, okay. So it came from both directions. I got you.
But and all that is cute. But it actually comes from the name. Actually comes. You're gonna laugh at me when I say this.
Please say it.
The botanist Leonard Fuchs. I'm not going to say it the other way because it sounds like a really bad word.
Because we don't want to get banned.
Fuchs. I'm just going to go with that. I'm hoping that's how you pronounce it.
Fuchs.
Around.
Fush.
He's German, so I'm thinking it's.
Yes. Yes, it probably is.
Yeah. This is around the 1500s. Fuchs is also the German word for fox.
Ah, all right.
If I'm saying that wrong and you're from Germany, help me out, but don't mess with me. Don't. Please.
Be nice.
Digitalis comes from the Latin for digitalis, finger.
Like a finger, yeah.
Yeah, and the flower is approximately the length of a finger.
Oh.
Which I think is kind of relative because some people have short fingers and some people have long fingers.
Okay. That's very folky.
Fingers. So you get that with apparently glove comes from that finger. There's an association there.
Oh,
and then
okay.
Fuchs glove.
Watch your language.
Foxglove, and that's apparently the real story of how it got its name. But the other stories are cute.
Okay.
So I like to tell them because why not?
Sure.
It's cute. Now, like I said earlier, all parts of this plant are poisonous, and It can even irritate the skin. It can cause severe digestive issues, vomiting, diarrhea. It can cause drowsiness, tremors, convulsions, headache, delirium, confusion. It's always fun. And also fatal heart arrhythmias, which is not fun.
No.
Mainly ventricular tachycardia.
The V-tag, baby.
Yeah, it's basically when your ventricles are
Quivering.
they can't like actually pump blood through your system. They're literally just
You're in serious
You're not
trouble
doing
when the ventricles start going offline.
or when the atrial do it, because you can have atrial fibrillation.
That's
too.
true.
Then you're throwing clots. We're not gonna get into that.
Let's not do either.
Now, yeah, that's basically if this is ingested, but just touching it can also cause irritation. Okay. There's also another symptom called I'm gonna say this wrong, even though in my head I'm saying it right, but xanthopsia.
Nailed it.
I did okay. Xanthopsia.
I looked it up beforehand.
I was really worried that was gonna come off.
I had a big hunch you were going to use the term xanthopsia.
Xanthopsia, which is basically a haziness or a yellow tint to one's vision. Now, it sounds kind of strange, but there may be people who actually are on digoxin if you've ever not necessarily overdosed, but taken too much of it where you're trying to get your levels appropriated. They've actually had this kind of side effect.
Interesting.
Or seeing yellow spots. And I have a fun story behind that.
Go ahead.
I have a fun story behind that in a little bit. So I want to go into a little bit deeper detail about how cardiac glycosides affect the body, because while Foxglove has this going on, so does Oleander and so does Lily of the Valley. So that's why I wanted to discuss all three of them.
That's why you grouped them. Okay.
Yeah, they each have these cardiac glycosides.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
So if you are not hip to anatomy, physiology, here's a quick lesson. So they inhibit the sodium-potassium pumps within the cells.
I'm familiar.
This increases the sodium within cells, which indirectly leads to increased calcium within the cells. And calcium sounds, I take calcium. That's a great idea. But not in this case, because high levels of calcium in cardiac cells, when you have too much, it makes the heart contract harder. Because remember, the heart is a muscle.
Correct.
Or more forcefully, I should say. This can lead to deadly arrhythmias such as V-tach. So why do we use it in medicine, or how do we use it in medicine?
Right.
And today, it's used in the treatment of heart failure, sometimes atrial fibrillation. I've always seen it with CHF.
Yes.
Usually.
My first exposure to digoxin was when I was in physical therapy school and we were going over congestive heart failure.
Yeah, congestive heart failure.
So I was shocked to know that it actually came from a plant, though, originally.
Well, it's actually a lot of medications do. Aspirin.
Right.
The salicylic acid, I believe it comes from the bark of, was it willow trees?
Is it?
Typically, I think.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it comes from the bark somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of medications that come from many natural sources, but it has been refined, so to speak, so that it's much safer to take than in its natural state as you would find it out.
Yeah. You don't want to just go.
Right. The therapeutic window of this medication is very narrow. The medication, but also the plant more so. So if you're just dealing with the plant, yeah.
Okay.
Patients taking modern forms of digoxin are monitored with regular blood tests, as we know, and the dosages need to be exact, basically, because an overdose can be lethal.
Right.
But modern extraction is also much safer than it once was. So the way we are able to get it from its source is
much more precise,
more efficient process.
Definitely. Yeah.
Now, at one time, extraction was done simply by drying and crushing the leaves off the foxglove plant and using alcohol to get the good stuff. Now, this method was imprecise and dangerous because you don't necessarily know how much of this substance you're getting in one dose all the time.
Gotcha.
Now, some history with this. Pliny the Elder, we've talked about him before. He's basically written a lot about
Pliny.
Pliny.
I don't know how to say that.
Pliny. I've always said Pliny, but I could be wrong.
Either way.
It's been a long time since I took any sort of philosophy or learn about
Yeah,
ancient
me neither.
Roman peoples. Plenty. I'm just kidding.
We got plenty of time.
He actually referenced it in his writings as a very powerful diuretic. And also Dr. William Withering in the 1700s, he was basically sort of observing this folk medicine where this woman was like giving these people who had dropsy. You know what dropsy is?
I think I do. Was it swelling?
Yeah, it's like edema, what we would term as edema.
Yeah.
Which, if you have CHF, you could have that, like you have edema in your legs. And
did they also
like
call it consumption?
No, that's tuberculosis.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
consumption is tuberculosis.
Okay.
You might be thinking of, is it apoplexia? Is that what they called strokes?
Did they?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Something like that. Things were called something different back then. Now, where was I? I've already lost. Okay, Dr. William Withering. He made this observation that this woman was giving her patients. She's like a little folk healer. She was giving them this medication, and once he kind of got a hold of some, and he was like, well, what's going on here? How is this helping so many people? And it just so happened that foxglove was a main ingredient in this medication that she was giving them. So it was helping with, as a sort of, with its diuretic properties, it was helping them with their edema.
Sure.
Things like that.
Clever.
As well as what might have been causing the edema. Now, historically speaking, like I said, digitalis or foxglove was used to treat dropsy, seizures, for some reason, insanity.
Well, yeah.
Which they were using like everything from mercury to other things for that too.
Let me guess. Also, women being hysterical.
Well, that would have been considered insanity. Do you know why they call it hysteria?
Yes, I do. And it's you explained. You explained it to me the other day.
Isn't it basically like they thought the woman's uterus would just move around?
Yeah, move around inside their body.
Hysteria, yeah. Anyway, such a weird. Anyway.
That is crazy.
It also was used as a treatment for tuberculosis. I think it was more of they just tried things. Like tuberculosis was such a big deal. It was happening to everybody, even though it was kind of fashionable at a time. Like people wanted to look like they had tuberculosis.
I still can't believe that.
It was I don't know, whatever. And actually, tuberculosis is still a big problem today. Even though we have treatments today.
Yeah, in undeveloped countries, absolutely it is.
It's a really big issue. So
is it a virus? Is it a viral infection?
It's a bacterial.
It's a bacterial, okay. All right, I couldn't remember.
But anyway, just thought I'd mention that because it is still a thing. It has not disappeared. Also, the Black Plague has not disappeared. People think the Black Plague has disappeared. It is not. The bubonic plague is still around.
Great news. The Black Plague is still around.
Like, we don't call it that, so to speak. We don't usually call it.
Oh, boy.
But that's still around. It's a bacterial infection as well. So. But
Well,
we're not talking about that, and I'm getting off track. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It happens a lot with me. It's also been a treatment for aconite poisoning because atropine is another remedy.
Did you say aconite?
Yeah, we talked about aconite.
We covered that on the podcast a couple episodes ago.
Atropine is another remedy because atropine and digitalis can treat that low heart rate at appropriate doses.
Yes.
Get it kind of moving. Forceful contraction.
Yeah, that's clever.
So, also historically and somewhat recently, there have been quite a few deaths due to foxglove poisoning, both accidental and intentional. In the Victorian era, there was a lot of self-medicating going on, which, I mean, that was with everything, right?
You don't say.
And foxglove was just one of the many misused or overused medications. But an article from 1822 referenced a rise of poor women in England drinking foxglove tea for a cheap, intoxicating effect, so to speak. Because it did make you a little delirious, a little confused. It gave you a bit of a before it
Oh my God. That's so dangerous.
Yeah, not fun. But even today, it
Wow.
is very possible to overdose on the modern digoxin medications. So if you have these medications in your household, keep them out of reach of children or anybody who might be trying to take medications.
Sure.
Just not, well, you should do that with any medication, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
still.
Let's cover ourselves in the event of a legal proceeding.
Yeah, but exactly. Now, it's also a popular gardening plant because of its pretty flowers. It is a very pretty plant.
What?
Yeah, it's very popular.
Even so?
Yeah.
Is it? I am shocked by that.
It's very pretty. You just don't want to, it should just be kept away from pets and children in case of accidental
And lawyers.
ingestion. So, look, actually, all of these are can be grown in the garden. It's not like difficult to get your hands on.
That's crazy. I would never,
Yeah.
to be quite honest.
They're very pretty.
Well, sure. Google a picture. I just couldn't bring myself to grow it just because there's always a chance someone could get hurt.
You have like those intrusive thoughts where you're like, is it intrusive? Yeah, intrusive thoughts. Where you like, you see it and you're like, I should put that in my mouth.
That's right.
No.
Let's just try it.
Okay. So in one case, we're going to go over a couple of cases of this happening.
Ah, yes. The true crime, please.
And I'm going to, I should have looked up how to say this name, but he's dead. So
Let me try. Can I try first?
it's,
Can I see?
if you can read my handwriting,
Where's it at?
it's Italian.
Congrande della Scala.
Scala.
Nailed it.
Anyway.
First try.
Yeah, he was an Italian warlord turned ruler of northern Italy in 1329. So see, he's dead. He's not gonna mind if I butcher his name.
He's not going to push back on the.
But he was a leading patron of Dante from Dante's Inferno. Dante Alighieri.
Oh wow.
Don't know if I said his last name right because I've always only said his first
Well, he's
name.
dead too.
Yeah. I liked the Inferno though. I thought it was. I used to have this copy of the Inferno, and it had these modern depictions of everything. It was like modern illustrations.
Wow.
It was really cool.
Oh, I never knew.
I really
somebody...
enjoyed it. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, fun times.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually died at the age of 38, and it was suggested that he had a drink from this polluted spring and became ill, as one does when you drink from a polluted spring. I'm sure he didn't know it was polluted, but still. Don't drink from springs that you don't know anything about.
Was it a spring? Like a natural spring?
Yeah, but I mean,
or like
you know.
a pond? We don't know, do we?
Someone's poisoned the water hole. I don't know. Like,
We'll poison the city's water supply.
but more recent findings in his remains, because we can do that now, have shown lethal levels of foxglove, and it is now believed that he accidentally ingested the poison, though there are some people who suspect foul play, but there's no way to prove that. Like,
No.
it's just that he ingested it. They found like pieces of like pollen from that particular plant in his body. So it seems to me like he somehow ate it and then ate it.
So it just makes me wonder, can a natural spring be tainted by a naturally poisonous plant if it's growing near it? I don't know.
It could, but if this is a big enough spring, I would think it would dilute enough. There'd have to be a lot of it in there.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. Because it'd be mostly water. Like you're talking about a crap ton of foxglove that would have.
It would have to be But if the pollen is in his system, if he ate it, that makes more sense that he ingested it. I mean, he still could have drank from a polluted spring, but that's not what killed him.
Understood.
Anyway.
I will update my flow chart accordingly.
That guy. We're also going to... Oh, God. I don't know why I did this case.
You're mad at your own research now?
I am, yeah.
Guys, just so you know, my wife's research for this podcast is unbelievably good. It's so good. She struggles to not include every single thing. She's such a brilliant mind, and
I just want
everyone to know how great she is at this. Please continue.
I like to research.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about the Tenebimbo clan. You're going to laugh at that. It's basically a gypsy family clan. I don't know. Is that appropriate to say? Gypsy family?
I'm sure that's fine.
I don't know if things have changed since I've...
Okay. I'm sure it's fine.
Because we have some of those like clans in the in the state next to ours, not far from here.
Yes.
Not of this particular family or clan, but
Right. Guys, we have, just to clarify, we are in the state of Georgia in the United States.
Right next to South Carolina.
Yes, we live very close to the Georgia-South Carolina border. And just over the Savannah River is an entire community. They're nicknamed gypsies, but they're not like...
Is it Romany?
What's that?
Is it Romany?
I have no idea.
I'm not sure. Or I know they've been called other things. I don't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah. We're not trying to be crude or anything, but like they're a completely self-isolated group of folks with their own customs and just
religious practices. They build these new houses and they don't live of them. Won't live in them for like a year or so. And they have to like cover everything. I don't know.
They cover all the windows with paper bags.
But it's a form of like Catholicism with something else.
It's very mystical Catholicism.
I don't know a whole lot about it, but
it's very strange. Yeah, they're not typical Catholic folks. It's very, very fringe. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't know all their beliefs, but those that we know of are not these.
Correct.
These are a different group of people.
We're just playing word association, so yeah.
Because this is actually in San Francisco, California. And 5 members of this particular family were charged with the deaths of 5 elderly men.
Okay.
In 1997.
Okay.
So not too long ago.
No.
Well, I guess for younger people that might be a long time ago.
We don't speak of it.
We were alive. Now the murders took place between 1984 and 1995. So it was kind of it went on for like 9 or 10 years.
All right.
And it was actually called the Foxglove case because of the use of this particular plant.
Okay.
So 3 of these suspects basically cared for and married these men. All these men were in their 80s and 90s. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And these women were like late 20s, early to mid 30s. Okay. Yeah. They basically persuaded them to make them their beneficiaries before their death. These men were rich.
They got Anna Nicole Smithed.
Oh my gosh. That poor woman.
Yeah.
Before slowly killing them with digitalis. And like if it's an older person too, it's going to be something that you can more easily get away with, at least even back then, like in the 90s. Because it's like, well, what if they were taking this medication, or if they already had heart failure and they had a heart issue and they died, and then it's like, well, it's probably just their heart condition, right?
Yes.
So like it's
sure, so they can pass it off as dying of natural causes.
So they were using that sort of thing. They just got greedy, but they basically swindled a good $1.5 million in total. I don't know if that's like in that time's money. It can't be that different, like the 90s versus today.
It's probably double.
No.
Double or triple.
Anyway.
Inflation's serious.
Anyway, but they ultimately pled guilty to fraud charges. Were not found guilty for the murders because they just could not present enough evidence to prove that it was homicide.
Not enough evidence.
Because of like their age and like they were taking certain medications, like they were pretty sure like these women were poisoning them, but they could not prove it like in front of.
Not enough evidence to convict.
So that's that story. Yeah, the Tenebimbo clan.
Tenebimbo.
Kind
of rolls off the tongue when you say it that way. Tenebimbo.
That's the first time I've ever heard of this case, though. So that's interesting to me because Foxglove feels like such an old timey folk medicine type of poison.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Most of the time, you're going to find accidental ingestion of this poison. But hey, now we're going to talk about a case in 2008 that happened in 2008. There was a 42-year-old woman named Lisa Lee. Is it Lee? Lay?
That's Lee.
Lee?
Yeah, it's the pretentious way to spell Lee.
Lisa Lee Allen.
Leigh.
My middle name's Leah, so.
Yeah, but there's phonetic.
There's an at the end of it. You can like see it.
There's phonetic sense to your name. The Lee with the Ligh is just somebody who's insecure.
Lisa Lee Allen. A woman in Castle Rock, Colorado, she pled guilty for the 2008 poisoning of her husband using foxglove in his salad.
Not the salad.
And he lived, thankfully, after a brief hospitalization.
Ooh.
And Lisa was charged with attempted murder. She made a deal to plead guilty to assault charges instead of the attempted murder, though, and received 4.5 years in prison. This happened in 2008, so if you're on dating sites, be careful. Because this woman is out of prison. Hey, look, there's a hat. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I'm sure
we're live on TikTok right now, by the way.
She's out, and she might be.
She's free running around, probably plotting somebody else's murder.
Watch your salads. So I want to talk a little bit about culture surrounding this plant. Most people by now know that I love all things Agatha Christie.
100%.
As well as anything Sherlock Holmes, the old school stories. Love, love, love. But the murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but she makes use of this particular poison. No,
Okay.
you got to remember too. She was I think a pharmacist or a pharmacist assistant during World War. What? Had to be one.
Should be World War One.
Yeah. Sorry, my brain is. It's hard.
Okay.
Yeah, World War One. So she knew all about like poisons, medications, things like that. Also, the story I was going to tell you about with the seeing yellow, it was all yellow. You know that? Vincent van Gogh was known to take digitalis for epilepsy.
Oh, wow.
And some art historians actually think that his abundant use of the color yellow in some of his later works
You're joking.
may have been due to xanthopsia.
I never
like
knew
the
this.
Sunflowers and the
Oh my God.
even
Starry Night?
yeah.
Yes. Okay,
he
so
might
his
have been-
vision is tinted toward yellow?
Yeah, he sees like either yellow spots or like a tinted haziness of yellow.
So he's not fully aware of like how yellow something really is.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure before he took this medication, he might have been. There was a lot going on with Van Gogh, though.
Right. But would it help him? Would it help him like with contrasting with other colors outside of yellow? Like that may have been an advantage because he
It
could
could
see.
have been. Oh, I mean, we know it now. It was, but back then his paintings weren't famous until after his death, which is unfortunate.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's
he
like
had a hard life.
Yeah, it's like a musician just all of a sudden being given perfect pitch, or
I mean, I would have found it
relative
annoying if all
pitch.
I'm seeing is yellow, though. That would be really annoying. And I think he had some mental health issues too. So, I mean, I don't know if it bothered him or what, but he had a hard.
yeah,
He had
you
a
may
really
not
hard
even
life.
noticed.
The Doctor Who episode, where I think it's Matt Smith's Doctor Who.
I remember that.
Where they bring, they see Van Gogh and then they bring him to like the art museum. Love
Yes.
that episode.
Yes.
Is amazing.
It is good.
Okay, anyway, we're gonna move on to Oleander now.
Let's.
Nerium oleander is the scientific name. Oleander is an ornamental flowering shrub that thrives in tropical climates, but is popular everywhere. This is another popular garden plant, by the way. Another popular
Oh dear.
garden plant.
Still concerned about the last one.
Yeah, but its name actually derives from its resemblance to the olive family. It's actually a member of the dogbane family, which I won't go into great detail, but we've talked about henbane, and wolfsbane.
Dragon's Bane.
Give you, there's your hint on what bane refers to.
Yes.
But all parts of this plant are toxic. Yay! Also, if you burn parts of this plant, the fumes are toxic. So don't burn it.
Okay.
Skin contact can cause irritation and blistering, similar to that of foxglove. And eating it causes similar symptoms as well. Causes abdominal pain, vomiting, rapid pulse, and cardiac arrest. So don't do that.
Okay.
Because it does have cardiac glycosides as well. There was actually a movie. I never actually watched it. It was called White Oleander, where this lady goes to prison for like poisoning her boyfriend or whatever with oleander. something.
Oh.
It's kind of a drama though, where like her daughter has to live while her mother's in prison. I don't know. I didn't watch it. I just remember it being like a thing back
What
in
a
the day.
premise. Okay.
But I'm not really big into like the drama, unless it's like K-dramas. I like K-dramas. I like to watch their
K-dramas.
because like no, their facial expressions and stuff in K-dramas. Like I really like. I could understand them better. I don't know. It's kind of like I can
That's
like
really
you
funny.
know because like their faces are very I don't know, like they express exactly what they're like thinking in those scenes, and it's just much easier for me to. Anyway, maybe I'm just weird, but yeah. So oleander, the scent alone or drinking water from that the leaves have fallen into can actually kill animals or livestock. In India, this plant is known as the horse killer.
All right.
And in Italy, it's known as assbane.
I wasn't ready for that.
Like the donkey.
Oh, man.
Okay, donkeys are cool. I love donkeys.
Give it to me straight, Doc. You've been poisoned with assbane.
Anyway, you are an assbane. In AD 77.
Oh, man.
Here we go.
No, hang on. I'm not done.
We're going to talk about Pliny the Elder again. I hope I'm saying his name right because I mention him a lot.
You're saying assbane, right?
P the Elder. We're going to call him P the Elder.
P the Elder.
P-boy.
PTE.
P-boy the Elder.
P Diddy.
And no, not on this podcast. Nope. In AD 77, he describes the plant as poisonous, but for man, it is an antidote against the venom of serpents. This is not true. So yes, this plant does not provide an antidote against the venom of serpents. So please do not follow his advice. He was wrong in that.
Okay.
So there. Said my piece on that. Mm-hmm. Now, there have been stories of people dying after eating meat that was cooked on oleander skewers. Like either in the stories, they're either like Roman or Greek soldiers or even more modernly like Boy Scouts or whatever. But none of these stories have been proven at all. Like there's no cases that have been like shown or proven. And they are unlikely as you wouldn't really use the stems of oleander as skewers. They're kind of like I think they're kind of a thinner, it's like a bush sort of plant. It's not really a hard. It's
not big enough.
Wood. It's not like, it's not the type of wood you'd use as skewers. I'm not sure where that story originates from, but it's not likely true.
Okay.
Can it? I don't know. I wouldn't try it. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, yellow oleander, its scientific name is Cascabella thevetia, whatever, is native to Mexico and Central America. In Sri Lanka, it is known as the suicide tree.
Okay.
Even though I don't think it's a tree. But whatever. It has been used for its suggested purpose, mainly by the elderly in those communities. And it has also been the cause of accidental deaths, as well as having been used in homicide cases.
Wow.
Now, oleander contains oleandrin, which is another cardiac glycoside, and that's why you see a lot of the similar symptoms to foxglove. Mm-hmm. Oleander has been somewhat popular in alternative medicines with people making oleander teas or soups, but this is actually very dangerous, and it's obviously not approved by the FDA, as a lot of these alternative medications are not. So I would just suggest you do you, but don't, just be careful.
Yeah.
Wherever you get these things from.
Be advised.
Yeah. It is a dangerous process. Now, there was a case recently involving the use of oleander to commit murder. In September of 2000, Jose Francisco Rodriguez, he went by Frank, so I'm going to call
Francisco.
I'm going to call him Frank because
that's fun to say.
That's what he went by. Yes. He was living in California when he died after experiencing food poisoning-like symptoms. He and his wife, Angelina, had only been married for like 5 months before this tragedy happened. And Frank was only 41 and in relatively good health, so his death was a surprise. And he had retired from the Navy, and he was working as a math teacher at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the autopsy seemed to show nothing abnormal, so they were unsure at what had caused his illness and death. And the detectives looked through their house for any sort of clue as to the cause, like maybe he ate something accidentally, or maybe there's something we can find in his house. Maybe he had to have ingested something because this doesn't look right.
Mm-hmm.
Then Angelina told police that Chad Holloway, an old coworker of Frank's, had been fighting with him. They worked together at a place called Angel Gate Academy, which is a sort of center for troubled youths. Youths.
Yeah.
And she also claimed that the academy was involved in sex trafficking. Now, none of this turned out to be true, however, and Chad Holloway even commented that Frank had not looked or seemed himself before his death. So she just makes this story up, which is really suspicious already. And that's a big story to make up. Like, oh, they're fighting. Also, this place is involved in sex trafficking.
What a thing to say.
You know they're going to look into that. And like, if it's not true, why would you lie? But anyway. Now, during Frank's funeral, Angelina told his sister that he could have been poisoned with oleander. Like, why would you?
Okay.
That's just a very, like, strange... It's just too much of a coincidence to be man. Why? Okay. The medical examiner tested, after being told, that she said this, and later confirmed that Frank had oleander in his body, but it would not have been enough to kill him. So he did have it in his body. Now, Frank had a $250,000 life insurance policy.
Okay.
Also, Angelina's friend Palmyra Gorham told authorities that Angelina had told her that she was, quote unquote, bored with Frank.
That is one way to say it.
There you go. After 5 months, they've just been married like for 5 months. This lady's just like, yeah, I'm done.
I'm bored with Frank.
I mean, get a divorce.
She skipped a few steps
anyway
between being bored
but I guess
and
she
killing
wants,
him.
She wants the money. That's what it is. He's got a life insurance policy.
Is she Anna Nicole Smithin out here?
Well, no, I don't think Anna Nicole Smith killed anybody, though.
She didn't. You're right. My apologies to Anna Nicole Smith fans everywhere.
I mean,
My fault.
But I mean, I get what you're trying to say, but now without an official cause of death, insurance was not going to give the payout.
Ooh.
So Angelina decides to give police a tip that she supposedly received about Chad Holloway. This is the guy that worked at the place who supposedly had a feud with her husband.
Okay.
Anyway, she said that her source mentioned antifreeze. What did I say? Antifreeze? Antifreeze.
The vast majority of people say antifreeze.
Antifreeze.
Antifreeze. Down here in the South, antifreeze.
Antifreeze. This source obviously did not exist, and medical examiners found a lethal amount of antifreeze in Frank's body.
Oh, my God.
Now, at this point, his death was ruled a homicide, and they recruited Chad Holloway to have a recorded conversation with Angelina.
Okay.
So he confronted her directly, which led her to call detectives, and they caught her in a lie because she told them Holloway just confessed to me and just threatened me. And that's not what happened at all. They had a recording of the whole conversation, so they caught her in a lie.
Nice.
She was arrested in February of 2001, and she kept claiming her innocence, but while she was in jail, she plotted with another inmate to have her friend Palmyra Gorham killed. This is the woman that was like, yeah, she told me that she was bored with Frank. That's that woman.
Uh-huh.
But she didn't want her to testify, so she was like, I'm just going to have her killed too. Now, this inmate told police, who decided to go along with her scheme, and had Gorham pose for a picture as if she'd been shot and killed. Like, had her pose like as if it had been done, like the deed had been done.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Man, who are these cops? They're getting creative out here.
Yeah,
I like it.
Maybe they'd been bored. I don't know. So that they're, it's very creative. And then they visited Angelina to show her the picture. So, like, an undercover cop went and as the hitman, and like, look, I got evidence that he's dead. So Angelina was apparently delighted and thought she was going to be released soon because, this lady can't testify against her. So.
Amazing.
In January of 2004, she was sentenced to death. She had started poisoning Frank with Oleander, but apparently it wasn't he wasn't dying quick enough. It was taking too long. So she went ahead and just used some antifreeze on top of it. And then literally blabbed to quite a few people about it. Not very smart. Not very smart. Now, that wasn't the first time that people have seen Oleander in the news when it comes to murder. The first murder prosecution in American history with Oleander was in 1990 when a former Pasadena, California funeral home worker named David Wayne Sconce,
not the sconce,
33 at this time, was charged with murdering a rival mortician, Timothy Waters, with Oleander leaves to keep him from exposing certain activities, such as doing multiple cremations at once, which is basically like he's just piling bodies on top of each other and basically what happens is then you're getting not just your relatives' ashes, but maybe somebody else's, like a little mixture in there.
That's terrible.
Yeah, not great. He was removing gold teeth off of bodies.
Okay.
And theft of body parts. I won't go into that detail, but so these certain activities and like he was doing, like he was worried this other mortician was going to blab, and so he killed him with Oleander.
Man, the morticians, they're in these streets.
Killed him. Yeah, there's that. So that's Oleander. That's how far.
Man, that's a way to wrap one right there.
We're going to talk about Lily of the Valley real quick, though.
All right.
Lily of the Valley. You might have heard of Lily of the Valley before. I think it's actually you grew up in church life.
In church, baby. And I know that term. Yes.
It's in Song of Solomon, which is a very interesting book. I might add, of the Bible.
It's easily the most interesting one in the whole Bible.
Like. Oh, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. The scientific name is Convallaria majalis. It is a spring flowering plant with a lovely fragrance, very sweet. It is very pretty with tiny white bell-shaped flowers. It is really like these little delicate like bell-shaped flowers. Really pretty. Looks like something that somebody drew, not something that you just see growing. Really pretty. Wow. There's also quite a bit of lore surrounding this plant from various regions. During Victorian times, it supposedly represented peace, happiness, and harmony.
Okay.
It was even dedicated to the Virgin Mary by the Christian Church.
Oh, that was a mistake, wasn't it?
In other places, probably because it's mentioned in the Bible, I don't know.
Right, they don't,
And they're very pretty. They're very delicate and like innocent looking.
Okay.
Anyway. In other places like Devonshire in the UK, did I say that right?
Not Devonshire.
Devonshire. It has been seen as a harbinger of bad luck. I wrote back luck. Look what I wrote. I was tired at this point. Bad luck or death. So kind of different over in this
Bad luck
side.
and death in Devonshire.
So not peace, but death. Some believed that if someone planted Lily of the Valley in their garden, they would die within a year's time. So that's
a bit much,
I
right?
mean, yeah. Maybe someone really didn't like those flowers, and they were like, if you plant that, you're going to die.
This sounds like a rival between a resident who lives in a neighborhood with an HOA and the HOA president.
Yeah.
Like the HOA president just started this rumor about Lily of the Valley because they planted it.
If you plant it, you're going to die. Just saying. Now, there's also folk tales surrounding its origins. One from Sussex, England, describes various battles between...
I dare say. She's left her heart behind in Sussex.
The battles between Saint Leonard. Don't ask me about Saint Leonard. I don't know anything about
Hey, what about Saint Leonard?
I don't know
about
about
you said
Saint
not to
Leonard.
ask you. I'm sorry.
Every time I see the name Leonard, I think of Star Trek, like the original Star Trek. Anyway, moving on. And a dragon. There's a dragon in this story.
A fire drake?
I don't know. Doesn't mention it.
Okay.
Each battle pushed the dragon back until it was gone, and don't ask me where it went. I don't know. Went into a forest, and then poof, he's gone.
That is
apparently.
exactly how I would describe my mental health.
Are you pushing back the dragon?
You fled into the forest? I don't know.
Well, I've got a...
Will he be back? Probably.
I got a big ass dragon because mine ain't getting pushed anywhere. Here's hoping my elevated dose.
This
of
feels
meds
like feels like you're it's like a transcript version of a CapCut template for a meme.
Yeah. I got a big ass dragon. Okay. Anyway, back to the dragon. So it was pushed back and after it was gone, and Lily of the Valley is said to grow where St. Leonard's blood fell. So that's a little morbid, but
Dude, that's some deep lore.
There you go.
Wow.
Kind of marks where these battles were held, apparently. While there are nice stories among the darker ones, the truth is that Lily of the Valley is highly poisonous in all of its parts, especially the berries that replace its pretty little flowers. It contains...
You said that with such disdain. Pretty little flowers.
It contains a few different cardiac glycosides, and eating any part of the plant can cause headache, nausea, vomiting, bradycardia, which, if you don't know, that is like the
slowing of the heart rate.
Yeah, slow heart rate. Abdominal pain, blurred vision, and heart failure at high doses. So a lot of cardiac stuff in this episode.
The glycosides, man.
Glycosides. It was used at one time medicinally and was known as gold water. This quote-unquote water was distilled from the plant and used for treatment of strokes.
I voted for gold water in 84.
No. And as an antidote to poison gases in both world wars, believe it or not, because it can slow the heart rate.
Wow.
So there are now safer medications, and Lily of the Valley has no current medicinal uses.
Okay.
Because honestly, like, there's much safer medications out there. Yeah, better options. A very recent Missouri case, however, involving Lily of the Valley poisoning was written about in January of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do tell.
A man called police because he was suspicious of his wife, 37-year-old Sarah Schaefer.
Was Sarah bored?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. She might have been. After a bout of illness.
Don't get boring, okay? You hear what I'm saying? Uh-huh. Okay.
If you get boring, don't eat your salad. Or in this case, we'll get there. We'll get there.
All right.
So he was suspicious of his wife, Sarah.
Which, that's fine.
Yeah. After a bout of illness.
Makes sense.
With symptoms of fatigue, confusion, blurred vision, dry mouth, and nausea. So he was having these symptoms for a while. Well, he got smart. He told them that she had left a bag out with the label. I say he got smart, but she also got kind of dumb.
It's a combination of two things.
Left a bag out with the label Lily of the Valley on their table.
Okay.
And it was next to a bowl with this root from that bag. And he believed his wife had been poisoning him for the last 6 weeks. He even had video of her making him a smoothie with the contents from this bag he'd found. So I guess he set up like a camera.
Okay.
If you're having weird symptoms, folks, get you some cameras.
Okay.
And actually, I'm not going to talk about this case right now, but there was a case recently too where this guy, he was in some sort of medical program. I don't know if it was going to be a doctor or what. He poisoned his wife with colchicine in a smoothie.
Oh my God.
I don't know. We'll talk about that case later.
I'm so interested.
But yeah,
okay.
So smoothies.
That's a common medication for many patients I see.
Gout, yeah.
Yeah.
But it is very poisonous in high doses.
Oh my God. Okay.
So, as a lot of medications really are.
Well, yeah.
I mean, even vitamins. You can overdose on vitamins and have some pretty yucky side effects.
You can.
Especially the fat-soluble ones.
A, D, E, and K.
What's up? Anyway, so he brought this smoothie to police so it could be tested, and sure enough, they found the cardiac glycosides present that you would find in Lily of the Valley. When police questioned Sarah, she confessed to putting the Lily of the Valley into his food. She's like, I did it.
He had it coming.
And she said she knew it would cause harm. She was like, I don't care.
Lisa's saving us hours.
So she has since been charged with attempted murder and armed criminal action. So I guess she's armed with Lily of the Valley.
She just went in there and said, I did it, and I'm bored.
LOTV?
Lily of the Valley. Got it. Man, it really gets twisted in your tongue.
Lily of the Valley.
See?
You write a song called Lily of the Valley.
There's already
you think
many. No, I've seen them.
But not like a Christian one.
Yes. Hymns.
Yeah, but well.
Oh, you mean one about poisoning?
You could write it like in a Nirvana sort of tone.
Oh, wow.
You could do it. Could you pull off some Kurt Cobain?
I could certainly try.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, why are there hymns with Lily? It's a poisonous plant. I know it's mentioned.
Yeah, it's because of its mention in the Song of Solomon.
But like
it's supposed to be a messianic reference.
But it's poisonous.
Right. You know.
Maybe they didn't know it was poisonous then.
I don't believe so. When that scripture was written, nobody had any idea it was poisonous. I don't believe. I mean, could they? I don't know. You're talking about like what, 10,000 years ago? Was 5 or 6,000 years ago? So, Dan McClellan, yes.
Ask that guy.
He could tell us.
I don't know. Did they know?
Let's
Did
see
they know?
it.
We don't know. I don't know. Anyway, but that's what I have for you. That's Lily of that is Foxglove or digitalis, Oleander, and Lily of the Valley. And if y'all didn't know that those had something in common, now you do.
Now you do.
Those cardiac glycosides.
Cardiac glycosides, gang.
And just because it's a really pretty flower doesn't mean you need to go pick it and put it in your face.
Stop it.
Don't
get some help.
Don't rub it on your face. Don't sniff it. I mean, you can. I mean, I wouldn't sniff these, but you know, every time they say like, "Oh, smell the roses," keep that to the roses, because some of this stuff is not good for you.
It is not. Well, that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you don't mind, go on whatever platform you're listening on and leave us a 5-star review. It really helps push the podcast out to new listeners, and it works kind of like a tip jar. And thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Oh,
Bye for now.
I feel like I should mention, I had totally mentioned last time that I was going to do cyanide this time. But,
You did.
I'm going to get to it. I'm getting to it.
Right, okay. We're going to get there. But it's a two-parter.
It's such a big...
Two-parter.
Cyanide has been around for a long time, and it's been used
Yes.
so many ways, so often, and that's depressing to talk about. But I want to do it right, so I want to take the time to actually do the research on that and to do it well when we do it. So probably after our spring break is this next week.
That's right.
So it'll probably be sometime after that.
That's right. All right, awesome. See you guys in the next one. Bye for now.